I welcome everybody to 2024 State of the University conversation today. Before we get started, I would like to welcome everybody here and then welcome up to the podium SGA President Olivia Newman to give the land acknowledgement.
Good afternoon, everybody. The 4 locations of Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, Naperville, Rockford, and Oregon occupy the traditional homelands of Anishinaabe people, also known as the Council of Three Fires, comprised of the Potawatomi, Ojibwe, and Odawa. Other indigenous people who call this land home include the Sac and Fox, Kickapoo, Peoria, Miami, and Sioux. NIU's occupation of this land is a result of ethnic cleansing and forced relocation of Native Americans in part through the Treaty of St. Louis, 1804, and the Second Treaty of Prairie du Chien, 1829. We acknowledge the presence and continued vitality of these and other Native communities in our state and Midwest region, as well as throughout the U.S. and Canada. Today, the sovereign indigenous nations who were forcibly removed from Illinois are located in Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma, Michigan, and Wisconsin, among other states. Moreover, one of the largest communities of Native Americans in the Midwest is the Chicago area. As an academic institution, Northern Illinois University has a responsibility to acknowledge and redress the colonial legacy. To that end, NIU will educate our students, staff, faculty, and visitors, as well as the surrounding community about this history. Furthermore, as part of NIU's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, we seek to build respectful and authentic relationships with Native students, faculty, staff, and locals, and relocated Native communities by promoting student access and success, academic research, and artistry and community outreach and engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. So once again, I'd like to welcome everybody that are in the room and those who are joining us virtually to the 2024 State of the University conversation. Before I give an overview of what you can expect for today, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Ben Creed. I am Faculty Senate President and University Council Chair and an Associate Professor of Educational Administration in the College of Education. Rather than President Freeman sharing a presentation and then opening up for questions and comments, President Freeman wanted to engage in a conversation, in a dialogue in a format that's better aligned with NIU's university goals and commitment to shared leadership and shared governance. As such, she invited me in my role as Faculty Senate President and UC Chair to join her today in a dialogue about the state of the university. This is a very public conversation, as you can well imagine, but this is not the only conversation that we engage in. This is one of our conversations that we engage in throughout the year through shared governance avenues, and not just between President Freeman and myself, but between shared governance and university leadership more broadly. And so for today, our plan is to engage in this conversation about President Freeman's vision for campus, touching on points of pride and the progress we made in achieving that vision and the university goals, as well as have an opportunity to discuss some of those internal opportunities for continued, renewed, or new efforts to help bring reality closer to that vision, and then discuss how NIU is addressing or facing the various external headwinds within higher ed, and we're facing them guided by our mission, vision, and values. And at the end of the dialogue, we will be holding time for questions from those in the room here as well as those online. We will bring mics to you so you don't have to worry about getting up and running around the room, and for online, that will be monitored as well. So without further ado, I would like to welcome up to the stage President Lisa C. Freeman. Thank you. So as I prepared for the conversation today, one of the things that I did some homework. I went back and looked at some of the past State of the University presentations that you've given. I've looked at things that you've written and prepared, and I really just thought a great starting point for this conversation would be to talk about your vision for the campus as manifest in the most recently approved university goals, and maybe how it's changed, how it's remained the same, and what are those lessons you've learned over your time here?
Well, great. Let me start by saying good afternoon and thank everybody for being here and for dealing with the rescheduling of the State of the University due to our Northern Illinois weather. I'm really happy to be here with you today. You know, I can remember being in this room and standing at that podium early in the fall of 2018 and presenting to the university community a shared vision that was developed through many conversations over a number of years with members of the Husky community. And it was really focused, I really focused that day on the things that should never change and the things that we needed to change. And I think I'll start by saying the things that I said then should never change are things that I still believe are unwavering commitments. Things like our commitment to deliver on our public mission, our commitment to access and to affordability and to quality, to matching talent with opportunity. Also, our identity, an identity that's very NIU and very special, our identity as an engaged, student-centric public research university where every one of those words has meaning. And then our aspiration to model inclusive excellence across the university. That's, again, very core to who we are. But that day when I talked about the things that should never change, I also talked about things that needed to change. And the fact that, you know, we should strive together to be a university that's attractive and welcoming to students, faculty, and staff with different identities and diverse backgrounds. Because having that diversity would enrich our intellectual community, it would support excellence, and it would inspire innovation. I talked about the importance of a learning environment that encourages students, faculty, and staff to work across disciplines, to be oblivious to the traditional things that can constrain creativity and hinder innovation and research and artistry. I talked about wanting to be more intentional about having a work environment that supported the professional development of our employees and found a way for them to feel heard and valued and mentored. And then I wanted also to be a place where alumni showed their Husky pride by contributing back as volunteers, as donors, and as mentors. And then finally, I talked about the importance of not only relationships as resources in general, but as local relationships with DeKalb City and DeKalb County and community-based organizations as important partnerships that could help us together make this community more vibrant and more attractive to students and parents and visitors and potential residents. And I think that we've made a fair amount of progress, and the evidence that I would cite for that is we hear routinely during interviews, in focus groups, in surveys, that students, faculty, and staff are actually choosing NIU as a university or as a workplace because of our Husky values, because they want to work in proximity with people who have different and diverse viewpoints and experiences. We have growing enthusiasm across our campus for transdisciplinary teaching and scholarship and research. We hear from employees that they're excited about the professional development opportunities that we've developed over the course of the 5 years, and we see the number of applications to participate in those going up. We are starting to see an uptick in fundraising as we prepare for the university's second large major fundraising campaign. And our community is more vibrant, and we've probably never had better relations with the city, the Economic Development Corporation, the Convention and Visitors Bureau. I think all you have to do is look around at the paint on the bridges and the Victor E. Husky statue downtown and the business we've attracted to see that we've accomplished a lot together. We've been able to do this, I think, because we've been intentional about highlighting the intersection between various aspects of our mission and about being bold and making sure we tell the stories about the amazing things that we have going on this campus. At the same time, I think we all know that it's not just about telling our story better, as important as that is, but also about having a better story to tell. And we've been working to do that, to think about ways we can be of better service and support to our students, our faculty, our staff, to think about the ways we need to be more relevant to the world as it changes, and again, to our students and to the employers who hire our students. And that requires change. And change is hard, and change takes time. We're on a journey that isn't complete, but I think we're trying to do change right, in the sense that we're trying to be data informed, we're trying to be responsive and inclusive of stakeholder feedback. We're not rashly reacting to external and internal pressures. We're not irrationally clinging to the ways we've always done things, and we're getting better and trying harder not to let risk aversion thwart the opportunity to be innovative. So, I guess to summarize, I'm really proud of what we've accomplished over the last 5 years, the way the university is living out its mission, vision, and values.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, kind of that continuity of the mission, vision, and values as you've seen it, and the intentional efforts that have been made across campus to lead to some of those outcomes you're flagging, as far as student engagement, the community seeing us as a willing partner, employers speaking to us about the excitement for our students to come to them. I'm curious if there's any key tasks or key points of pride that have led to those larger changes, that are the important changes that we want to measure our outcomes by thinking of some of those key processes or factors that have changed over those past several years here.
When I think of points of pride, I think the first one I think of is our efforts at strategic enrollment management planning, our first and our second strategic enrollment management plans, and the structures we've put in place to support them. And as you say, what really matters is the outcomes that we've had. So I could cite a number of specific examples within strategic enrollment management where I've been very proud of our accomplishments in the way we've used data. We used data, looked at the predictive value of GPA and standardized test scores when we made the decision to say, it's GPA that predicts a student's success at NIU, so why don't we use that to make admissions decisions and award merit scholarships? This past year and a half, as we proposed for the Higher Learning Commission visit, and we worked on a quality initiative, we looked at what was impeding students' success in introductory courses, the gateway courses that really make a difference to whether a student progresses or not. And by using a data-informed approach, we were able to make good decisions. But I could cite a lot of individual examples, but I think overall, I'm really most proud of just the holistic approach that we've taken to strategic enrollment planning, and the way we've been very thoughtful and deliberate about the roles that all of us play in making sure that we recruit talented students and that we help them succeed to, through, and beyond the university. So maybe that's my first point of pride.
And I think within that, one of the things that is a key point of pride from my perspective is manifest in SEM 2.0, which is this reliance on shared leadership across it, and the intersection between shared leadership and shared governance here on our campus. And I think that is something that cuts across all aspects. I'm not saying that because I'm doing a great job as faculty senate president, but I think it's indicative of the culture and climate of the university, that there's a commitment to good shared governance, which requires role definition, responsibilities being housed within specific roles or bodies, and then an approach to shared leadership, which sees expertise as embedded across campus, and is, in order to make better decisions, in order to support our students and our faculty and our staff, we need to bring in expertise from across the campus in order to implicate shared governance and hand things off to faculty senate to make changes to policies, to hand things off to administration, say this is what we're doing in a coordinated way related to strategic enrollment management 2.0, for instance. And I think it's also, so there's that component, and I think also the comprehensive nature of looking at student enrollment. Strategic enrollment is not just student focused, but also inclusive of staff experiences and faculty experiences and how that connects back to the students who are ultimately here to support and serve.
I couldn't agree more, and I think, Ben, you are in a very unique position to talk not only about shared governance as our elected faculty senate president and shared governance leader, but you've been very involved in very important shared leadership group, the Engagement Council. And if I had to think of a second point of pride, it would be the work that we've done to really recognize and elevate engagement as a key aspect, a key pillar of the university's mission. And I'm very proud of the work that was done by the Engagement Task Force, the recommendations that were put forward by the Engagement Council, the way we are now celebrating the work of faculty, students, and staff who enrich teaching and learning and scholarship and artistry with engagement. I think of examples like Project Flex, our kinesiology faculty who are working with incarcerated youth and showing the value of sports and leadership. I think about the students and faculty from environmental sciences who helped review grants for the Illinois Department of Natural Resources because they had expertise in public policy and administration. And so I agree with you that things that seem challenging, even insurmountable, that shared leadership, shared governance, and accountability can really make those things possible. And I think we have a number of really good examples of that on our campus right now.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think it's one of those core aspects of the university that I think is helping make sure that all the efforts that are going on around engagement, say, or around trans or inter or multidisciplinary work, have a coordinated and targeted focus, and it's not just a bunch of work going across. And I think that is one of the key value adds of the shared leadership model that's been embraced underneath your leadership and embraced campus-wide, as well as the willingness and the ability of shared governance structures to support that, to move those efforts forward in coordinated ways. And I think that there is movement towards more coordination in a number of areas across campus as well. And I know you've talked a bit about the engagement roundtable, but I wonder if there's other spaces that you've seen real impact of the shared leadership model that's been in place here on campus to move us towards those the mission, vision, and values of the university.
I think that shared leadership isn't really new to our campus. We've had some great examples for a long time. I mean, I see that in the presidential commissions. I see that coming out of COVID. Making sure that the three things that shouldn't change were the guideposts that we used not only to deal with the pandemic, but to deal with the aftermath. I think the remote workforce task force has been really valuable. And then the structure that's been put in place with SEM2 and our shared equity leadership group, the fact that we have intentionally connected ground level leaders to senior leaders. We've created a structure with 6 working groups that are completely focused on improving student success, improving faculty success, and strengthening our community, and that we have students, faculty, and staff working together and talking to each other, bringing forth ideas they might not have a forum to bring forth otherwise. I mean, I think that's something that we should be really proud of. In your role, you must see other examples. Tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty of roles that ways that I see it impacting faculty through shared governance and through shared leadership. One of the things I was just in a conversation about was where do ideas come from for Faculty Senate, for our body of shared governance, or for the UC University Council to take up and address. And it's often through those shared leadership groups that bring ideas and implicate us as holding certain policies and procedures. Within shared governance, we're really working to support faculty through increasing transparency and understanding of how the university works. Again, going back to a core principle, a well-functioning institution requires folks to know their roles and responsibilities and enact them. We're also engaged with conversations with university leadership about opportunities for professional development for faculty members and mentorship opportunities for faculty, and other ways that we can identify barriers that may not come up through Faculty Senate, but may come through these shared leadership groups that we can address. And I think one of the ones that I really one of the things I'm most proud of that we've been working on within shared governance is changing a core tenet of the university, a core system in the university, which is related to promotion and tenure. And this is a barrier to a lot of the other work that we want to do on campus, or that is going on campus. And that is that we've been engaged with this process to modernize, to update, and make our promotion and tenure system more equitable. So while the authority is Faculty Senate's to do, it's been through conversations with the Transdisciplinary Task Force. It's been through conversations with the Engagement Roundtable and Engagement Task Force. It's been involved with other working groups on clinical and research faculty that we've come together to create a policy change within shared governance that gets at the core of the institution from an academic and from a faculty standpoint. And what it does is it expands what's valid and valued. It expands and changes the incentive structure at the core of the institution that alleviates barriers for faculty that they may perceive, but ultimately alleviates barriers that our students may be facing, and having opportunities to having engaged learning opportunities, or engagement, or participating in transdisciplinary research. And I'm really excited that we've been able to take all these different shared leadership group recommendations and efforts and expertise and coordinate them and manifest it in a policy change that the hope is it provides the fertile ground for our students to have what we hold up as a core value as an engaged experience and hands-on research opportunities. And so not only will faculty be impacted by these policy changes that are informed by shared leadership, but our students, our staff, our university will be better situated. So that's a lot of me talking about that, but one of the things that connects to our vision, your vision for the institution of being engaged and student-centered and research-focused. And so I just hope to learn a bit about how do you see this being elevated, this student-centeredness elevated in the things going on across campus.
Well, let me just start by saying that I'm very proud of, and also very proud that our senior leadership can support the work that's being done to make sure that our tenure and promotion criteria evolve as forms of scholarship evolve. It's really important that our faculty who are doing transdisciplinary work are attracted to work that's publicly impactful, or innovative, or entrepreneurial, or social justice oriented, feel valued. One of my mentors always said to me, make sure you don't confuse rigor and rigidity. And that always stays in my mind. There is a real opportunity for us to allow the creativity of our faculty and students to increase impact, because we respect different types of work, different manifestations of scholarship. And I just commend the Faculty Senate, the shared leadership groups, and all the good work that I know is going on at the level of the colleges and the department personnel committees, and let you know that administration stands in their appropriate role, not to direct, but to support the change that you want to see. And I think we have a great opportunity, a great example of being entrepreneurial and student-centered in terms of scholarship in the room with us today. when we're done with our conversation, we'll have a great opportunity to taste Jada Juice. And I want to say a little bit about Jada Juice and Jada Samuels. Jada Samuels, when she was 17 years old, before she came to NIU, decided that she wanted to start a business to improve access to healthy food in minority communities through creating, marketing smoothies based on fresh fruit and fresh vegetables. And she came to NIU as a major in management with a minor in entrepreneurship. And last July, Jada was the overall winner and the audience favorite at a pitch competition at DePaul University. And her business idea beat out business pitches from teams that represented universities that are much more widely known for entrepreneurship: Northwestern, the University of Illinois, the University of Wisconsin. And for those efforts, Jada was awarded $7,000. So she's that much closer to her dream of having a food truck and multiple storefronts. But the way Jada got to go to the pitch contest at DePaul was she was one of the top performers in a pitch contest held here in the De La Vega Innovation Lab that lives within our College of Business. This is a facility that was funded and named by a very successful graduate of NIU who wanted to make sure there were resources to support student and faculty creativity and innovation, and wanted to do that against the background of our cultural diversity. And after Jada was outstanding at that pitch contest, it was the faculty and staff from the College of Business, from the De La Vega Innovation Lab, from our Office of Innovation, who helped her prepare for the DePaul competition and who are still helping her move towards her dream. So maybe, Ben, before I answer a little bit more, we could just take a moment and applaud Jada and her success.
I think that's a great example of the way that we provide opportunities to our students who have great ideas, who come with passion, and help contribute to their development and see them as individuals with those dreams and aspirations that we can help contribute to through the work of our faculty and staff. And I think that's a great example of it. I'm curious if you'd be willing to talk a bit about some of the work that's NIU is really engaged in to elevate the work of, so as problems and challenges in our communities are becoming ever more complex and complicated and intersectional, I wonder if you might talk a bit about how we're working as a university, as a public institution, as an engaged community to elevate the work that is addressing those complex problems, those wicked problems of practice.
You know, I think you and I both have the privilege and opportunity to see faculty present to the Board of Trustees, staff present to our Board of Trustees. And I think within the last year, we've worked hard to make sure that those presentations capture the great communication, collaboration, and transdisciplinary work that's going on across our campus. You know, in 2018, NIU had a very unique opportunity to build on the very strong foundation of excellence, faculty, researchers, scholars, scientists, and teachers, the work being done in areas like environmental adaptation and water resources, to tell the state of Illinois that we wanted a hub and a new building focused on community sustainability. And Illinois being what it is, we are now just getting to the point in 2023 when we're actually working on the building design and hiring a director for the center. But the faculty work and the student engagement has continued at such an incredibly excellent level. I already talked about an example related to policy work and collaboration with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. But our meteorology group is engaging students in activities that range from helping the president's office figure out when it's going to snow and when we're going to have to postpone something, to working with farmers and members of our community to help us understand what they need to know to mitigate severe weather events, to working with insurance companies and bringing their analytics capability forward. And we have other groups that are working on prairie restoration and pure water around the world. And as we're finally at the point where we're bringing together the building, the leadership, and the sustained faculty excellence, it's a time to really think about how we do a cluster hire, how we continue to stack upon that excellence. I know you were at the Board of Trustees when we had a faculty presentation on basics. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And I think that the basics group was a group of, 2 of our faculty members were co-PIs on that, on an NSF-funded effort to look at how to do trans and interdisciplinary curriculum, how to support learning and learning opportunities for students related to sustainability issues. And they were part of a team from 3 different universities, going from STEM fields and business, or colleges of business, to really think about how do you design a curriculum, how do you design coursework to expose students to the multiple tools and theories and perspectives needed to answer questions related maybe to watershed sustainability and other topics. And they're doing deep research funded on a national level, and they're being seen as national experts and how to do interdisciplinary teaching, which is core to achieving or supporting our students to finding solutions to those problems that are in the community, that folks come to our university, that our faculty, our staff, our students come to the university to help solve. And I think Jada is a great example of that too, of seeing a problem and seeing there's a solution that's an intersectional solution. It's not just nutrition, it's not just economics, it's a multiple approach is needed to understand and address local solutions. And I think that elevating at the board meeting is a wonderful opportunity to get our board fired up and engaged and supportive of this important and necessary work related to solving problems that need transdisciplinary work. I think the competition and this opportunity to elevate work that spans boundaries of JADA is great. I think there's more efforts too, not just in creating the systems and structures to enable the work, but also ways to elevate the work that's being done already or will be done on campus so that folks across campus can be inspired, so our students have access to that work as well. And I look forward to those continued conversations, as it is a core to what we do as a part of our identity.
And I don't want to say that we devalue or disrespect the work that's being done in the disciplines. Disciplinary knowledge is really important. It forms the foundation for having a larger, more transdisciplinary, inclusive conversation. But, I think we all want our students to leave here as critical thinkers, as compassionate leaders, and, bound to be successful professionals, contributing citizens. And that requires them to be able to look at the same problem through different lenses. And it's fun when you get to do that, but it's also rewarding because you're doing something that will benefit all of us as they go out into society.
And I know you discussed earlier the aspiration and the efforts towards making the university a more inclusive experience, inclusive excellence across the university campus. And there's so many high-quality efforts that are going on across campus, across divisions and units, from student-led efforts to faculty and staff-led efforts. I'm just curious if there's one or two efforts that you'd like to elevate as kind of an exemplar of that inclusive excellence.
I'd like to just first start out by saying I think we're all humbled, grateful, and very proud of the recognition that NIU has gotten over the past couple of years. This year we won for the third time. I really earned for the third time the Higher Education Excellence and Diversity Award. And that is an application process that is very rigorous. You have to show year-over-year progress, and that fact that you've continued to challenge yourself. And so I'm proud of the fact that we've won that 3 years in a row. Proud of the fact that we got 5 stars of recognition from Campus Pride for a second time. And we won for the first time this year the library Excellence in Access and Diversity Award for the work that's being done in the university library. So I think we have a lot to be proud of, but that doesn't make us want to sit on our laurels. If I look back at last year and I think about what made me say wow in this realm, I was really impressed in October with both the turnout for and the content of the first conference that was sponsored by our Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Center. I can't remember the exact title, but it was about bridging race, identity, and community. And the title isn't really what's important. It was the focus of the conference was very much on deep listening, on constructive dialogue, and on fostering empathy and resilience. And it is the diversity of our students coupled with freedom of expression that will really build the leaders who can talk across differences, not scream at each other, but talk to each other. And I think we all know the world needs more of that, and we can be part of that.
I couldn't agree more with that as a point of pride and a great example of inclusive excellence on campus. And wanting to be a bit of a steward of our time, I know we started to touch on some of those opportunities for new or renewed or continued efforts to move things forward. And I think an area that we've all heard consistently in various formats is related to the budget. As we hear about that the budget is an issue that we're dealing with. It's a challenge that's facing us. It's a very real challenge, and you've shared in multiple forums, and so has the university leadership, that we can't cut our way out of it. There has to be opportunities for investments to help grow our way out of it. And I just wonder if you can share some examples of those investments you make that are connected to that the mission, vision, and value, and the university's identity.
So I think the first example I'll give is, it's kind of a threefer. It's transdisciplinary, and it's an investment, and it builds inclusivity. And that is our decision as a university to invest $300,000 in TRISE, the Transdisciplinary Research Incubator for STEM Education. We have faculty experts across this campus who study problems of how the cultural norms of students in a science classroom impact the way that classroom and those individuals learn, and take what they study and try to apply it to maximize the learning in that classroom, to really maximize and harvest the assets of the students who come into that classroom so that everybody's learning is better and stronger. And those faculty are in your college, but they're also across campus. And through a competition held a number of years ago to bring forward emerging research opportunities and initiatives, they proposed this. And although I don't expect TRISE to be a revenue generator immediately, that's not why we chose to invest in it. To be honest, I would be very surprised if it didn't attract additional external funding, attract talented scholars who are interested in this area, and help with the retention and recruitment of students to STEM majors at our university, which will also be revenue generating. A very different kind of example is a new partnership with an organization called Re-Up, and I think you heard this approved by the Board of Trustees. Re-Up is an organization that's designed to help students who have stopped out of university return and complete the coursework that they need to be a degree, to receive a degree. They use analytics to identify the students who are most likely to return, and they have support services that help the students who are opted out adults come back and navigate their way through completing their coursework and receiving their degrees. It's a performance model, so Re-Up we only pay re-up for the students who re-enroll. It's a fraction of their net tuition. And it's a model that's been very successful, a partnership that's been very successful at universities like ours around the country. We really started working with them very late in the fall semester, sharing names of students who had opted out of NIU more than 2 years ago or more. And this spring, we already have 25 students who have come back to finish their degrees. And so this is an investment that obviously has an economic return on investment, but it's also so consistent with our mission, vision, and values, and helping Huskies who start here complete their degrees. And so I think that's another good example of investment.
I think it's an example, too, of the value of shared governance, or the implication of shared governance is, as that decision and investment is being made, shared governance is, like, I'm engaged in conversations. We are, as faculty senate, engaged with conversations with Vice Provost Shadaman about how do we have readmission and reinstatement policies that enable and streamline and make more efficient that work, so that those investments have fertile ground to land. And as we pivot even more into kind of the future looking and opportunities for NIU, I think it's important not to think about the future as through rose-colored lenses. I think it's thinking about the realities that we face headwinds as higher education across the country and probably across the world face headwinds. But I think I'd just like to get your perspective on the headwinds NIU is facing and some of the solutions we have towards that.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I and presidents of universities around the country think about all the time. And, interestingly, I don't think the headwinds are all that different in nature than they were when I stood at that podium in 2018, but everything seems harder. It seems harder because of the pandemic and its lasting social and economic impacts, and it seems harder because of the way the world has just gotten so much more polarized. And so when I think about the headwinds that challenge us, there's eroding trust in colleges and universities and the value of higher education overall. There are changes in the number and the nature of students. There are significant economic challenges. There's inflation. There's just a drastically changing economy that we have to function within. And then there's technology. Technology is ubiquitous, and it's both a challenge and an opportunity, but the expectations of students and their parents change. And when we're faced with something that arrives quickly, like artificial intelligence, we don't have a lot of time to think about all the ways that we can prepare our students to use it, make sure that our faculty and staff have the opportunity to use it, while also looking at the ethical issues that come along with something like that. When I look at the challenges that we're facing, they're real, but I still am kind of, not rose-colored glasses, but maybe the glass is still half full, because I just have great faith in the Husky community. I think that basically our values tell us, again, these are the things that can't change. These are the things that we're going to have to change. These are the challenges that we face, and we'll figure it out, because this institution is too important to the state of Illinois, to all the people who have been here. I mean, when I say we think about things that shouldn't change, and I reference back to 2018, honestly, if you go back to NIU's first president, John Cook, or if you look at the sixth president, Roten Smith, there are similar themes in the messaging about our public mission, the transformative experiences we offer students, especially those who are often underserved or overlooked. And it's kind of exciting to see that theme go for more than 125 years.
And in order to make sure we have time for question and answer, the last question I have for you, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, one of the points of pride that I have is in the shared governance, shared responsibility, shared leadership that's on this campus. And that I'm here today engaged in this conversation, and that we have these conversations ongoing is evidence of that as well. But fundamental to that shared governance is that everybody has a responsibility to contribute to the Husky community, to contribute to NIU, and to help ensure that our university, our campus, our alumni continue to go out and support and are able to do the work that they want to do. So fundamentally, we all have a role in making campus healthy for now and for the future. And from your perspective, what ways can the broader Husky community hold up our end of the bargain in making the institution as healthy as possible?
You know, I think I'd start by saying I think we should all look at the university goals and see where we see ourselves in there. Because the university goals are really our goals. When I think about shared leadership and shared governance, I think, you know, for example, of University Goal 1B, which is really about making sure that our employees have professional development opportunities and a good workplace and good work-life harmony. And that goal came because I heard in my office hours from faculty and staff who represent shared governance and shared leadership and collective bargaining about things that were important to them. John Accardo heard the same thing on his listening tour, our chief HR officer. And, you know, because we heard those things were important and we heard very specific ideas about what could be achieved, we're moving that forward in the university goals. There are other things in the university goals that are more at the initial charge level. There is an ask that the leaders of divisions and colleges create shared leadership groups to define what it means to be student-centric in their specific context, and then use those definitions, that shared understanding of what it means to be student-centric, to look at position descriptions, to think about how the processes that they control or they contribute to across campus could be improved. In some cases be made more efficient, made to reduce barriers. And then, you know, everybody knows that we are working through a series of suggestions on revenue generation and cost reduction. And we've been, I think, forward as university leaders presenting to people across campus about ideas that we have. On the academic side, reducing curricular complexity. On the administrative side, some technology used to improve processes. Since the first of the year, I've actually been in meetings in Indonesia, Malaysia, and on campus about ideas related to tuition and revenue generation and recruitment. But the good ideas don't only come from leadership. So I think everyone should feel empowered to bring a good idea they have about what we could do better, what we could do differently, what we should stop doing, and make sure those ideas get elevated through your division leaders, through office hours, through just, you know, the multiple ways you can make suggestions. And then there are all the little informal things that actually really matter. There's speaking with pride about being a Husky. There's referring students who might be interested in coming here or volunteering at a recruitment event. There are just so many ways that we can all work together to strengthen the community, improve the student, faculty, and staff experience. And, you know, they're not easy. They take some coordination, collaboration, but, like, you know, we're Huskies. That's what we do, and that's, I think, why I'm so optimistic.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And so with about the last 10 minutes that we have here scheduled, we'll open up the floor to questions from those in the audience in person, and then online, Liz Wright will be monitoring the chat and sharing questions that come through that. If you have a question, we'll bring mics to you.
Thank you very much. Actually, we do have a question online while we're looking for questions in the room. The question comes from Fred Barnhart, who's our Dean of the Libraries. Can you comment, President Freeman, or elaborate on the benefits that becoming an HSI, a Hispanic Serving Institution, will bring to NIU?
Yeah, so I think probably many people in the room know that this past fall we hit the 25% enrollment mark for Hispanic, Latino, Latina students. And hitting that enrollment percentage does technically qualify us to be an emerging Hispanic-serving institution, and we need to maintain that enrollment for a couple more years to fully achieve that status. But I think that it's important to remember that although that threshold is part of the technical definition, our emphasis is not on enrolling Hispanic and Latinx students, it's on serving them. And actually on serving them while we serve all our students. And so there are grants that we will be eligible for. There are learning communities that we can join to benefit from the experience of others, to see how servingness, how understanding that population, how seeing what investments help Latinx students and all students succeed, we can take advantage of resources that weren't available to us before. And it helps us just recommit to all the things that we care deeply about understanding who our students are, understanding how to meet them where we are, understanding that it is our job and our privilege and our joy to help them succeed to, through, and beyond the university.
There's been a lot of discussion over the last year about sustainability. Certainly we have the Northern Illinois Center for Community Sustainability coming online. Can you talk a little bit about your personal commitment to sustainability and how all these things come together?
I'm really proud of the work that's been led by Courtney Gallagher and the people who have been in the various working groups that contributed to our sustainability and climate action plan. We certainly, as a university, have a commitment to be carbon neutral by 2050, but we have so many opportunities to model sustainability and to figure out how to prioritize all of the great suggestions in that report in a way that align with our mission, vision, and values. And so, we are in conversations right now about an energy savings agreement that will create great savings for the university, but also make us closer to carbon neutral and better stewards of energy. We're talking about solar installations that can power part of the university and what that would look like. And I think that we're going to see as time goes forward. I was at a meeting this week where we talked a lot about what causes stress in our students, what causes anxiety in our students. And our students are afraid of the fact that damage is being done to the environment and the world in ways that they can't control, but they're the ones who will be here after all of us are long gone. And so I think having a university commitment to sustainability, being able to show tangibly that this is how we're embedding sustainability in the curriculum, this is how we're embedding it in our practices, is going to be very attractive to students. And in addition to bringing more students to NIU, I think it's going to give a level of empowerment and comfort to students who have good reason to be nervous about some of the things going on in the world.
President Freeman, thank you for your inspiring, uplifting, glass half full message. You shared some very broad contextual challenges that keep presidents up at night, but specifically to us, what keeps you up at night, and then what can those of us out here do to help support you in solving those challenges?
I talked about all of the headwinds that we face, and when I put those very specifically in the context of our mission, vision, and values and our Illinois context, I think there are a couple things that really worry me. The first is that while we're getting better at changing, we may not be able to be nimble enough or change fast enough to continue to really execute on our mission in ways that keep our institutional identity with integrity and contribute to our sustainability. And I'll give you maybe two examples. We know that working adults with some college and no degree, working adults who want to upskill for professional advancement are a growing group of potential college students. In some ways, they are very much aligned with the students that we've always served because the structures aren't there. They have been overlooked. They're part of contributing to economic development in our region. But they're not the 18-year-olds that we've been built to serve, and we're going to have to adapt to really meet their needs. And I know we have people really interested in doing that and talking about that, but we have to get it right, because when they start coming, we'll have one chance to serve them well and be identified as an institution that does this well, and I really want us to be prepared in time. I would say the same thing is true right now. The biggest emphasis coming out of the governor's office and the Board of Higher Education in terms of serving students is about improving transfer. If you look around the country, Illinois actually does pretty well. We're like in the top 5 in terms of community college students who transfer completing degrees. But being in the top 5 still leaves a whole lot of room for improvement. And it's really important to the state agencies and to the governor's office that we minimize the barriers to students who want to transfer into our institution. And we have all this infrastructure, the Illinois Articulation Initiative, transferology, and we say this helps, but I don't, those are really complicated things. I have 2 doctoral degrees, and sometimes the IAI makes my eyes roll. I think for students and parents, it can be hard. And what the state really wants to see is students know while they're in community colleges which courses they need to take that will be accepted into their major at the university that is the destination of choice. And that sounds so easy, but it's something that we've struggled with because of the decentralized nature of our academic enterprise, the fact that we don't always document something, so we keep going back to it. But we have to get that right, because it's the right thing to do. It's not that hard, and it addresses all our needs. But I worry that, the things that have prevented us from doing it till this point. And then, I think everyone in this room knows that I really value our unique place in the Illinois higher ed ecosystem and the national ecosystem as an institution that matches talent with opportunity and gives students who have been overlooked and underserved by our systems the opportunity just not to have knowledge delivered to them, but to participate in knowledge creation alongside our faculty. And as the state looks at how we fund higher education more adequately and more equitably, I'm afraid that our unique identity won't be valued by the state as much as I value it. And there will be push for us to go to be a more access, affordability institution or a research institution that doesn't have those values. And that will not be NIU. And so there may be times when we need to raise our voices to let everybody in Springfield and elsewhere know that the reasons we have spectacular alumni, the reason we have incredible students, the reason someone like Jada Samuels comes to NIU is because of our unique identity, and that needs to be something that we can all talk about as we go into our fundraising campaign. That intersection, that thing that makes us special, has to be something that everybody can do in an elevator pitch. Maybe Jada will help us with our elevator pitch, but that's really important to me.
Thank you for that. I think any other questions that we have, I think, can be maybe discussed
over Jada
Juice.
All right.
So I thank everybody for coming in person and online today, and I thank you, President Freeman, for sharing your perspective on the state of the university. So thank you.
Thank you.